You know all those 60-ish watt LED panels? Well, this is it now. Feel old yet? This is Zhiyun's M60 Ultra. It's a pocketable 60-watt full-color panel, and not by a stretch, this is easily pocket-sized. Batteries included, by the way, so this is one entirely self-contained, extremely powerful, and very portable RGB WW panel. It's even got some wireless tricks up its sleeve. Comparing its output against some full-sized 60 to 80 watt panels I've got, I can't say the M60 Ultra is outperforming these larger fixtures in terms of sheer brightness, but it does come close. Consider this now being in the 60 watt territory of lines you conventionally have to plug into house power or run off larger batteries like a V-mount. In fact, this entire fixture with built-in batteries and attachments is only about the size of your average V-mount. And all that output the M60 Ultra is capable of is sent out in a simple but thoughtful approach. Without any attachments, you get a somewhat concentrated beam angle because each emitter is individually lensed. So right off the bat, it's an intense output that's quite easy to direct. From there, you've got two attachments which snap on magnetically to the front of the light. There's a honeycomb grid which further narrows that beam angle down, as well as a plastic diffuser dome if you instead want to spread that concentrated beam out. In its bare state, I think it's absolutely the right design choice for the beam angle to start out in this middle ground. You've then got one option for widening it, and then one for narrowing it. So it's very versatile, but in a nicely simple way. It also helps a lot in terms of controlling where you want that output to go, because without any attachments, which is when this light is in its brightest state, you will appreciate that pre-concentrated beam angle, which lets you channel all that output without having to waste much of it onto something like a bounce board, for instance. And because the light is so small and weighs less than 500 grams, I can clamp this directly onto a bounce flag with a magic arm, and really quickly I've just transformed the M60 Ultra's output into this large soft source. I actually find this light super useful for bouncing because when you're bouncing, that typically means you're looking for something quick and easy, which this light is, but it also needs to be bright enough to survive the bounce, which again, this delivers. If you're just bouncing into a white wall, I love that you can narrow down the beam angle of this to really localize the direction, as well as control the softness of that bounce light even from a distance. That color wash on the background here, that's all coming from this light here. Also, with the honeycomb especially, it's possible to get a volumetric ray or a spot on a subject even though this is a panel source. And being a full color panel, it also goes a bit beyond simply having HSI and RGB modes because full color typically also gives you the ability to dial in your green magenta tint adjustments in good old color temperature mode. That's here on the M60 Ultra. That's of course a great feature for self-correction or compensating for shifts when using bounce, but also especially with a fixture like this, you might be using this as a fill light to an even more powerful key light, and in that case, color matching is going to be a lot easier when you've got a full color fill light. I can already imagine this to be a staple when it comes to run and gun shoots. The 33 watt-hour battery will last you about half an hour at full blast. You can power and charge it over USB power delivery. It is a 60 watt fixture, so appropriately this accepts power delivery up to 60 watts. That's what's happening to this light here. A very nice touch is when you are charging this, it displays how much power is going into the unit on its LCD screen. Aside from that, it's a very simple interface. Two rotary button knobs, a single 1/4 inch mounting point with RE locking pins, as well as a power switch. Now, the power switch on this is made to require a very intentional fingering in order to activate. Because considering the internal batteries, you really wouldn't want this to unintentionally turn itself on when it's inside your bag or something. So you can see they've really gone out of their way to prevent you from accidentally turning on the power switch. On some of Zhiyun's previous fixtures, the same purpose was achieved using a combination of button presses and rotations, which always felt like extra steps when you're powering on the light. So I personally do prefer this design. It is a very stiff and very recessed power switch, but it's also very direct and very straightforward. And that would almost seem like everything there is to say about this straightforward yet useful light, if it weren't for one more very neat trick up its sleeve. You see, there is a special wireless feature where you set one M60 Ultra as the primary and the rest as secondary. Then, whatever you dial in on the primary light will also update on the secondary lights. No app required. Now, at this point, I should say that the M60 Ultras do also work with the ZY Vega app, and yes, if you do set all of them up within the app, you can basically do the same thing by controlling all the fixtures as a group. But the point of this feature is not needing a phone running the app. You can set all this up beforehand, and it just falls into place on set. It works the moment you turn these things on. No pairing, no reconnecting, it just instantly kicks into gear. Now, I do feel like there's been a slight missed opportunity here in not designing the M60 Ultras to mount onto each other, because otherwise this would be an incredible modular lighting system. If anything, that would probably be my main complaint about this light. I wish there were more mounting options available. You also can't just magnet the back of this onto something. Just imagine having multiple 60-watt fixtures behaving together as one ginormous fixture. That would be quite a bit of firepower. You absolutely can, in theory, still do that if you have the means to mount it, but to just bring things back, the real benefit of this wireless follow mode here is how it really streamlines working across multiple different M60 Ultras together on the same set. For example, if you've got a few of these laid out across your background as accent lights, adjusting one adjusts all of them. Saves a lot of time if you're adjusting multiple numbers like HSI values. Also, if you're backlighting a subject and you want that backlight to visually synchronize with the color wash of your background, for instance, that's another use case I would use this feature for. It's a light which is already great by itself, but it brings additional value when you've got a bunch of them together. And despite the ultra wording in its product name, it's not really a high commitment fixture to own at all. Zhiyun is pricing this at $129 each, which is the sort of price we're used to paying for those 5 to 7 watt RGB pocket lights, except this is a 60-watt panel. I'll leave links below for anyone interested, and I'll see you around.